Alright you guys, we are back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be answering your questions that you had about the Tucson Gem Show. So when I was leaving Tucson, I put up an Instagram story and let you guys ask me questions that you had specifically around the Tucson Gem Show. Now I was able to screenshot most of your questions, however when I went back to view the rest of the questions, they were gone. Instagram deleted them. So I'm so sorry if I missed your question. Please let me know in the comment section down below if I don't answer your question, and I will make a part 2. I also asked here on YouTube, but I don't know if I got responses, so we'll definitely answer those as well. So let's jump in and get started. Okay, so the first question is, what's the toughest part of the job, meaning going to Tucson? I 100% would say it's very fatiguing. It's very overwhelming. There's a lot to see. Even if you have a plan, even if you have a shopping list, it's still very much overwhelming. If you are easily overstimulated, Tucson may not be the show for you. It's sensory overload from a noise, people, and just everything to look at. It's overstimulating on another level. So I highly recommend, if you're overstimulated, to make sure you take breaks, leave the shows, go to a quiet room. I found it most exhausting days 3 and days 4. You're touching a lot of stuff. You have a chance of getting sick. I got sick this last time. My best friend got sick in Denver. A lot of people got sick from the Tucson show. So I'll just say in general, the toughest part is just how overwhelming it is. It's also really hard to lug around heavy crystals. So that can also be taxing if you don't have a wagon, and even that can be hard to drag around. So I just say there's so much to see and it's hard to do in a short period of time. So you constantly feel like you're running out of time unless you're staying there the entire trip. So I definitely would say the toughest part is just being overwhelmed, feeling burnt out. And by day 4, you just don't feel good. Even if you're not sick, your feet hurt, your neck hurts, your back hurts, everything hurts. You're like stimulation overload, and you kind of just want to be done at that point. And that for me happens like day 3, day 4. So the next question is, do they let you board the plane with a bag full of crystals? Yes, they do. So when I travel to Tucson, I bring 2 empty suitcases and then a little wheelie cart and a backpack. So that's kind of my go-to for Tucson. And then when I'm coming back, I'll wrap a lot of the crystals that are really breakable in clothes, but I'll also bring bubble wrap, tape, anything to cushion them. A lot of the vendors do pre-pack everything for you, so it's ready to ship. So there shouldn't be too many issues with breakage. I also do have a little handheld suitcase scale that I bring with me. So before I board the plane, I make sure to weigh both suitcases and make sure they are underweight, because I believe the overweight charge is like $100 per suitcase if you go over 50 pounds, at least with Delta. So I do pre-weigh everything. But yes, they do let you get on the plane with a bunch of crystals. I think a lot of people do that. Sometimes they will make you sign a waiver that they are not liable for any breaks or missing crystals. So it's only if they ask you what's in the bags, but typically they don't. The first time I went to Tucson, I did have to sign a waiver. The second time I didn't, and I only had maybe 1 crystal break each time, so not a lot of risk. The next question is, do they have jewelry boxes? Yes, they do, but it's a little bit hard to find because not a lot of vendors specialize in that, so you definitely have to kind of go to each show and find those vendors who do carry it. I would say maybe Kino is your best show, because that's kind of more of a like garage sale type vibe, at least that's what I got from Kino. Maybe 22nd Street would carry something like that. But I would say like the hotel shows in Mineral City and those type of shows probably don't really specialize in that. So it's definitely more of a specialty, and those vendors who do sell jewelry definitely will carry it. There are some specific shows there that specialize in jewelry. So again, those would be ones where you would have your best bet finding jewelry boxes. Next question is, would it be worth it to go mainly just to network? Yes and no. So it kind of depends on where you are in your business journey. If you already have an established list of suppliers that you found with online or at local gem shows, I would say no, because Tucson is so expensive just to go, to stay, to buy food, like everything is expensive. Rental cars, plane tickets, like it's all expensive because everyone jacks up the prices for the Tucson show. And you know, the one thing I noticed with both Denver and Tucson is sometimes those vendors only sell at those shows. So it would be kind of unfortunate to even spend all the money to get there and then realize that 75% of them only sell at the shows. So that can be a huge bummer. So I would say it's worth it if you have a really big budget and you don't have a list of established vendors, then yes, it's worth going just to network. If you don't have a big budget and you already have a really solid list of vendors, I don't think it's worth going just to network. So the next question was in 2 parts, minimum budget to bring. Honestly, I'll say you can go to Tucson truly with any budget. It really depends on what you're looking to buy because there are some good deals, and if you want really good deals, go at the end of the show. You'll get great deals because people are just trying to get rid of stuff. However, you may miss some of the really cool sought after minerals. So it kind of depends on where you are. If you want to save some money and get some great deals, go at the end. If you want to be the first to get some things, go at the beginning. You'll probably end up paying some more money, but I truly believe you can go with any amount of money. But I'd say if you want to really make your money go far, I'd say at least $5,000 if you're a shop. But if you really want to bring a good budget, I'd say $8,000 to $15,000. And if you really want to spend a lot of money, I mean, it can only go up, right? You can only bring more money. So I mean, you can definitely go with $2,000. I probably wouldn't go with less than that, but I'd say like $5,000 is a good place to start. But it is overwhelming and there's so much to see, and sometimes you'll buy from the first person you see and then you'll find a better deal later. So you do have to kind of navigate around that aspect of the show. And then the second half of their question was, do you map your days and approximate days to see all the shows? So I'd say if you want to see all of the shows, go for the entire trip, because if you don't, there's no way you're gonna see all of the shows. It's just, each show is so big. If you haven't seen my video on my top recommended shows to go see, I will link that up above and in the description box down below. That gives all of my favorite shows. There's definitely some you can skip, but if you truly want to see them all, like, you really have to go the entire time, which is over 2 weeks. If you want to prioritize seeing the best shows, I'd say you at least need 3 or 4 days. There are 2 days in a single day is not enough. So ideally, I think 4 or 5 days will allow you to see a handful of shows. That's how big Tucson is, and it depends on how much time you're spending there, especially if you're sourcing crystals. You do really want to take your time and hand pick all the pieces, and you could spend an hour with one vendor depending on what you're looking for. And some shows truly take a full day to see, and I think there's over 27 shows at Tucson. So honestly, it's impossible to see all shows unless you're there for the full time, and even then, I don't know if it's possible, but I'd say at least 4 days. At least. The next question, has the cost generally increased or decreased? I would say with every year costs increase in general. I think we are just in a year of inflation, so I definitely think crystal cost went up. However, I was still able to find vendors with insanely good prices in my book. Now, I'm a retailer, so my price range is going to be different than if you're a wholesaler there, or if you're a mineral dealer. You're going to look for completely different prices. So obviously people from all over the world come and are able to find amazing deals. So I will not say that every price went up, but on certain things, prices definitely went up. And if you remember what you paid last year, it'll help you kind of understand if prices went up. In general, I would say most prices stayed the same, but there are definitely things prices went up on. If it's trendy, prices inherently will go up, like moldavite. So the next question is, can anyone go? And yes, anyone is welcome to go to any and all of the Tucson Gem shows. Sometimes there are specific shows that are wholesale only, so you'll have to show a wholesale license to, or business ID, EIN to purchase, but I think you can still actually go and look around, you just can't purchase. So there's a lot of the times inside the shows that it will say wholesale only on certain booths. So like, I think Village Originals is wholesale only, I believe. There's certain shows that are just wholesale only. They'll have a big sign, so it's very obvious. But yes, all shows are open to the public. You can wander in and out, ask as many questions as you want. It's super open and anyone is welcome. So the next question is, the most unique minerals you saw this year? I think the most unique minerals I saw this year was Vivianite. I believe that is a relatively relatively new find, and I did see a small amount of it last year, but this year it was like on another level. Huge specimens of Vivianite, super cool crystal, and I could see so many vendors carrying that. Another one was the Himalayan quartz. That wasn't super popular last year, and this year it like blew up. So many vendors had huge, massive specimens of Himalayan quartz. So I think those were the two most unique and prevalent ones that I saw, but there's so much to see. And if you really are into super unique specimens, I recommend going to Mineral City. Those are all museum quality specimens, and they are insane. You'll never see anything like it outside of in magazines. And the next question is, how do you find / figure out which vendors to go to? So if it's your very first year going, I definitely recommend watching my witch shows to see in Tucson. Those are my favorite shows that I've gotten the best crystals from, in my opinion, and having gone a second time this year, I still stand by that. But it's really all up to your personal taste. If you're looking for certain things, it definitely can be a little bit harder to find, like Eighth Vein, Ocean Jasper, that is a harder one to find. Lavender Moon Quartz, that can be harder to find. If you're looking for things like amethyst, rose quartz, kind of more of those standard crystals, almost every vendor has those. So it really is a matter of finding vendors that you connect with, and this is the best place in the world to be to figure out what that is if you don't know what minerals you connect with. So it's just a really great show to just explore your own personal taste and what you want to try in your shop, and it's amazing to make those connections because a lot of those vendors go to Denver and a lot of them come back to Tucson the next year. So when I went to the Tucson show this year, I went to my vendors that I always go to first, and then I spent the rest of the time trying to meet new connections, and I'm really glad I did because I met a lot of amazing brand new vendors that I want to work with now going forward. So it's a little bit touch and go and a little bit of exploration, but I think that's what makes it super fun. So the next question, I did have a couple of questions on shipping and how you get crystals back home. And yes, they do have shipping stations via UPS at every single show, which is so nice, especially the big shows. There are several shipping stations at Kino. There's shipping at Red Lion Inn. There's shipping at the other hotel shows, shipping at Pueblo. So almost every show has a little ship station, and really what it is, and I'll have my editor insert some footage to show you what it looks like. It's basically a little trailer, and it says UPS on it, and they have a scale, they have boxes, they have bubble wrap. You bring them all your crystals, they pack it up for you, and you just wait for them to be done. And you can build an entire pallet if you would like to, or you can ship 1 box, 10 boxes, whatever you need to do to get them home. I think from what I was told, I think a pallet starts at like $550. So it is kind of expensive, but it's worth it if you bought a ton. And then if you just want to ship a couple of boxes, I think it's around $100. So you definitely want to factor that in to your budget. For me, like, I'd rather fly with them, but in Denver I did have to end up shipping stuff back. And you don't have to use UPS if you don't want to. You can always, if you have a car, drive to FedEx or drive to USPS, whatever your preferred shipping company is. But the convenience, if you don't have a car or if you need to ship stuff right away, is that they do have UPS right there in the shows, so you can just bring them everything and they'll get it ready to go for you. Most expensive crystal I bought. So the next question is, what was the most expensive crystal you bought? And I'd say I bought 3 crystals, and they were all around the $600 range. So I bought 3 crystals at about $600 a piece. So those were the most expensive ones I bought. And so far I haven't listed those yet. I'm still debating if I want to. If you haven't seen my unboxing videos, you can see which ones those were. The next question is, what crystal find were you most excited about this year? I think my most exciting find was the beryl crystal that I found from the Brazilian wholesaler that I get my Lavender Moon quartz from. Their whole family specializes in really rare, expensive, and unique material, and I always love shopping with them. They had some insane pieces. So I'd say the beryl piece, and also the kunzite that I got from my favorite kunzite and aquamarine vendor. I bought a really insane piece of aquamarine last year, so I vowed to buy an insane piece of kunzite, and I picked up that heart kunzite. if you haven't seen it. So those are my two absolute favorite finds this year. Next question, I think this is a really good question and kind of ties back to the first question we talked about, was are you overwhelmed by all of the crystal energy? What do you use for protection slash methods or crystals? So when I travel, I always wear crystal bracelets. I use them for flight anxiety, but I also use them for protection at the shows. It is super overwhelming. I personally don't find the crystal energy to be draining, but I do find being around all of those crystals, it almost like amps me up and I'm like overly stimulated. So for me, I get that side effect and then I'll go back to my hotel room and be absolutely depleted. So I am very much exhausted at the end of every day because I'm like so amped up during the day. But I do wear a set of bracelets to kind of help with that. Usually it's malachite, labradorite, aquamarine, and lepidolite for anxiety. And then I do have some crystal rings I wear, amethyst, and sometimes a clear quartz. And you can always bring what makes sense to you. If you want to cleanse yourself, you can bring some Palo Santo, you can bring some selenite or satin spar if that helps. But I do wear just jewelry because that's the lightest thing that I can carry and I don't want to add any extra weight to my backpack. But yeah, I think every night I do need to decompress because it just is an overwhelming experience. It's overstimulating. But yeah, I would say if you don't have Palo Santo, you can always buy some at the show to help cleanse, or anything you need for protection, you can just buy it there, which is super convenient and nice. Then you can bring it back home. Okay, next question is, what's the best thing about the Gem Show and what's the worst? I think the best thing about the Gem Show is just the opportunity to meet sellers from all over the world and the opportunity to see the most insane minerals, and it's just such an amazing learning experience, and to hear everyone's stories is so compelling and refreshing, and then you can tell those stories to your customers. I think like that part of the experience to me is so spiritual, and the connections I've made I am so grateful for, and I get to see them every year or sometimes twice a year in Denver, and every time we see each other again it's like, oh my god, I'm so happy to see you. I would say my least favorite thing is just like the process. It's a lot of money to get there. It's a lot of time and energy spent shopping and sourcing and making these connections and carrying everything home. Like, it's a very overwhelming experience, and then it's even harder when sometimes people challenge you on those prices or they don't understand the pricing. But I think a lot of people don't understand how much work it is to go to these shows. It's not like a vacation. It's 8-hour, 10-hour, 15-hour days. It's very long, it's very exhausting, it's very taxing, and then you have to pack it all up and get it home safely. So I would say the process of going to a gem show can be very exhausting if you're going there for business purposes. If you're going there just to wander around and learn and shop, it's probably a very good experience overall. But if you're going as a business, it can be very difficult, especially if you get tired easily or overwhelmed by people or overwhelmed by anything. It's a very overwhelming process. A lot of my Patreon members kept saying like, I had no idea it would be like this, and we're almost like, whoa, it's like almost too much. And the next question we got was, how do you know if the price is good or not? So this is just gonna be me sharing my personal opinion. Is I don't negotiate with vendors unless they offer me a deal. And the reason I do this is because only they know, and it's usually minor direct people I'm dealing with, but only they know how difficult it was to get that mineral. When you think about the Larimar mines or the Himalayan suppliers who have to like carry everything down by hand, and the Larimar miners have to go down these skinny little tunnels underwater, the tunnel floods, like there's a reason that material is priced that way. I personally respect and honor the prices that they have, and if it's too much for me, I just won't get it. And if it seems right to me, I'll get it. And if it seems like a steal compared to other businesses I've seen that same quality at, I'll definitely get it. So a lot of that is kind of learning prices over time. Like as you do this more, you'll understand the general price of what a crystal should be. Over time, you'll also understand what high quality looks like, what low quality looks like, what medium quality looks like, and so much of that is factored into the price. But for me, unless a vendor is offering a discount, I won't ask for one, but I also won't buy it if I think the price is too high. But in the same sense, if I find something that I know no other shop has and it's $500 a kilo, I'll buy it and try it. Like, I think Tucson is a very much experimental time for you to learn how much money you'll spend for something, and then on the back end, how much money you can sell it for. So I think you can always try and buy more expensive things, cheaper things, and see what works for you. And then the next time you go, revise and edit your plan. So it's kind of gut instinct and just learning over time what makes sense for your business at the price point and budget that you have. All right, you guys, that was all the questions I was able to save from Instagram. If I didn't answer your question, leave a comment in the comment section down below and I will try to answer it. And if there's enough questions, I will make a part 2. But if not, I will directly respond to you in the comment section down below. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Tucson can be very exhausting and overwhelming to navigate, so I'm trying to share as many tips as I can from my perspective and what I've learned while I've been there. And you can also join my Patreon community. Several members went to Tucson this year and they also have experience with the shows, and we did end up doing a happy hour, which was so fun, and I'm hoping to do one in Denver as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already. We just hit 40K, yay, thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys on the next one. Love you, bye. Hey, question for you. Have you been thinking about starting a crystal business, don't know where to start, or feel a lack of community? Well, guess what, you guys? I have a Patreon that has access to a private community and Discord server for just $18 a month. You can learn from other businesses, make friends, learn along with me, and topics include pricing, shipping, Shopify, Etsy, and so much more. So head over and join us on Patreon for just $18 a month. Everything is linked in my bio.